Hey folks, Chaz here. I have yet another piece of the Circle O walnut. This is from Marceline, Missouri. It was cut many years ago and has just been laying on the ground up there, rotting. And you can see just how bad the outside is. The bark is all gone and the sapwood is just crumbling. But underneath there's some really nice walnut just starting to spalt, just starting to lighten up a little bit in places. So what I want to turn today is a calabash bowl. I'll turn it in grain, and if you're not familiar with the calabash bowl, they are named for gourds, calabash gourds, that have just a rounded bottom that were used to make bowls. And so turn the same thing out of wood. It's sort of a deep bowl with a wide rim and a rounded bottom. So I will make this one hopefully somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 inches deep. I've got about 8 inches or so of good heartwood here. So I'll try to make the bowl as deep as it is tall, which is a really nice look. So we'll give it a shot. Now I need to find the centers of the logs without really being able to put a center finder on it. So I just use some sort of a caliper and sort of inscribe an imaginary circle around the log here, around the heartwood, to see if I can determine approximately where the center is. So I'm right on the edge of the heartwood there, there. I would call that pretty good, pretty close to the center. So I'm just going to push the end into the piece there and mark with a grease pencil, or just mark off the hole that I just created. Alright, so now we'll flip it over. Look for that same spot. This could have been a piece of branch wood because the pith is off center, which means I'm going to have some reaction wood in here, and hopefully the log has been spalting long enough that the energy stored in that reaction wood has been released. Right? So it looks like the center is right there. Now when I go to put this thing on the lathe, it'll be no mystery as to where I need to put my drive center and my tailstock center. So, alright, so I've got just a good old spur drive, and I'll put that in the headstock. My piece of wood now. In the case of the end grain bowl, there's really no difference front to back. I'll be turning a tenon on the tailstock ends, just a little easier to access the tailstock ends. I'll be turning a tenon there, and I don't really see any advantage either way, so I'll just do it like I'm holding it. Put that puppy there, that guy in there. I want to get those drive spurs into the end grain, but you know, like I've read several times, a lathe is not a vise. So if you have hardwood and you're trying to do this, probably better to tap that drive spur into the wood with a mallet. This wood's spalting and it's fairly soft, so I'm satisfied that I can get the drive spurs in there pretty good without having to use a mallet. Okay, so I will go to time lapse with a nice overhead shot, and you can see how I'm going to shape. I'm going to first of all get all this old nasty sapwood off of here. Could just about peel it off with my hands. And that gives you an idea of just how long this stuff has been sitting on the ground and kind of how far gone it is on the outside. The inside, still very pretty. So I'll get set up for an overhead shot. We'll do this in time lapse to speed it along and see if we can get through this thing. All right. Alright, so I've got the crappy old sapwood off the log, and I'm down to relatively healthy wood. This wood is starting to spalt, so it's lighter, a little more porous, and the color's changing, but what I've got here is a tenon. Now I have a deep or a set of tower jaws for my stronghold chuck, so I made my tenon longer than normal. It's probably about an inch. I took that into account when I laid out the log, because I knew I was going to lose probably about 2 inches of the back. So that, coupled with trimming this rim down, I should end up with a bowl that is about as tall as it is wide, hopefully. So. Alright, so what I'm going to do is take this off now. I'll put the tower jaws on my stronghold and rechuck this, profile the outside, and then I'll pause for a minute and explain the hollowing process. If I can keep my big head out of the way, I'll explain here what I've done. This piece that was here is what's going to help me turn the base off, I'll end up chucking this piece and jam chucking the bowl against it with the tailstock so I can turn the base off, which is why I went to all the trouble to shape this the way I did. And then I took a drill bit and just holding it by hand with a handle I turned, I drilled down to depth inside the piece because I'm going to use a ring tool to hollow this out, and a ring tool kind of relies on that hole being drilled in the center. So real quickly, before I start hollowing it out, I'm going to hit the outside of this with some sandpaper and try to just get a nice smooth exterior on this thing, because I'll end up sanding it by hand later, but I don't want to have to sand, you know, big tool marks out. So bear with me for a second. I'll try to keep my big head out of the way of the picture. So I've got it sanded to 320, which is, I'll probably end up sanding it after it's oiled to 400, possibly even 600. But you can see I've got a hole here. This will allow me to use my ring tool to go in there and take this out. It's the best way to do it because it's end grain. And then I'll flip it, reverse chuck it using the little part that I made here from the same log, and turn the base off. So let's see how quick we can get this thing hollowed out. Oh, I want to tell you about the ring tool too. Give me a second to grab it. Alright, so I will be hollowing this out using my ring tool. Now, I don't know if you guys are familiar with ring tools. You can see it's a circular cutter. Now this one is by Hamlet, and it includes a shield. You can see it right there that allows you to adjust the depth of the cut. So you get this thing all set up, tighten this screw down, and then it won't just go, you know, digging whole hog into your wood. It will only dig as deep, cut as deep as the shield will allow it to cut. Now this tool has a 5/8 shaft, and you know that's good for a little bit of depth over the tool rest. I like to have a little more bulk. I like to be able to go deeper. And in order to do that, this thing would start chattering quite a bit, being a 5/8 diameter. So I designed a little beefier cutter head for it, or shaft. So I went to a 1-inch stainless steel shaft. Still allows me to use the cutter head, and I can go you know, a good solid 15-16 inches over the headstock with this. So it's probably overkill for this basket that's 8 inches deep, but I like the fact that it feels really solid. It's got nice weight, so I'm going to change over to it. got it turned and hollowed and sanded on the inside to 220. And you can see the hollowing on the inside kind of follows that curved profile on the outside. Left it about, I'd say about 3/8 of an inch thick. And now I've got this big tenon on the bottom that I need to turn off. So I will take a break here for a few minutes, and I will come back in a little while, and I will jam chuck this against my nose cone there and turn the base off, and then we'll be ready. Now, I'm not going to oil this thing between now and then, and I don't want it to change shape on me, so what I'm going to do is just wrap it in a plastic bag. It's only going to be in there for a little while, so it won't cause a problem for mold or anything. So, but it should keep the bowl from losing moisture and changing shape before I can get back and turn the bottom. So I'll see you guys in a while. Okie doke, I am back, ready to turn the bottom off of my Calabash bowl. So let's unwrap it here. Just had it in a plastic bag to trap the moisture in there so that it wouldn't change shape on me while I was waiting to get back to it. So it's looking pretty good. So now what I'll do is I'll take this piece here, which you may recall was sort of in that area, or no, this area. And so I just turned that off and turned a nice little cone on the end of it. And that will be my jam chuck for removing the tenon. So I just put the smaller jaws on the stronghold. Make sure that's running true, and it is, so that's good. Now I have the original dimple from my tail center, revolving center. So I'm just going to use that again. That's going to be as close to center as I'll ever get. And I'm going to take just a piece of this shelf liner to give me a little friction. And make sure that I have coverage all the way around. Piece of foam probably isn't quite large enough, but alright, so that is looking pretty good to my eyeball. Let's see. Give it a spin there. In this area here, it seems to be running pretty true. So that's really all I'm concerned about. If there's a little wobble at this end, I'm not as concerned about that. Just in this area here. Okay. You don't want to use a terrible amount of pressure here, just enough to keep it pinned into the jam chuck, which is why I use the foam. If I didn't have the foam there, I would need a lot more pressure to drive it wood on wood, and in that case, you know, I run the risk of cracking the rim of the bowl, because it's, in addition to being pressed on, it's also, you know, trying to be forced out on that cone. So Get everything ready here. I just put a fresh edge on my bowl gouge. So go to time lapse, turn this thing off so you guys aren't watching that whole thing, and then I'll go back when I get it done to live action and show it to you there. So now you can see the finished product. The calabash shape. You know, calabash bowls were originally made from gourds, which is why they're round on the bottom. Kind of continue that theme. So I've got a little nub there, which I'll take off with my power sander. And I'll oil this up, let it dry. It's probably going to move a little bit as it dries. I'm not going to end up putting it back on the lathe and finish turning it. Got it down to about 3/8 of an inch. And that's a nice weight for a bowl that is intended to be functional. So, anyway, I'll maybe put a little oil on this for you guys. Let you see what that looks like. Okay, a little Danish oil. So again, this wood was sitting out in the woods. Had been cut years ago. Came from Marceline, Missouri. Piece of property known as the Circle O Tree Farm and Lodge. But you can actually stay there. You can find it on online. I'll put the website at the end of the video. Stay there, the owner might actually let you take a couple of pieces of this walnut, who knows. So put just a light coat inside and out, just to let you see the color of the wood. When you see this stuff laying out in the ground, it just looks horrific. And then you get it oiled up, and you wonder, what else is laying out there? It looks like that. Shame to have a piece of wood like that rot away. I was able to actually leave just a touch of the sapwood, which I think is really nice, gives it a little character. So there you have it, walnut calabash bowl. It'll spend a little time drying and being oiled and sanded, and then it'll be ready to enter service. So, thanks for watching.